Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for joining us for another segment of Health Professional Radio. We'll be speaking with Arun Krishna. He's joining us here from AstraZeneca to discuss the positive results from the FLAURA2 Phase III Trial of TAGRISSO. Thank you so much for joining us, Arun.
Oh, no, thank you so much. Thank you for having me over. It's a pleasure.
Well, tell us a bit about yourself and your role at AstraZeneca.
Yeah, of course. So, as I said, my name is Arun Krishna. I work at AstraZeneca. I am the U.S. lung cancer commercial head for AstraZeneca. So I am accountable and responsible for all lung cancer treatments and therapies in the U.S.
There are more than one type of lung cancer. Am I correct in that?
That is absolutely correct.
You deal with all of the different types, but today I think we're going to be talking about the FLAURA2 Phase III Trial of TAGRISSO. Tell us about this compound and who it's indicated for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, as I said, there are different types of lung cancer based on the histology. You have small cell, you have non-small cell. This is really focused on patients who are metastatic non-small cell disease. So this is stage 4 and over. Now, TAGRISSO, as you just talked about, or called osimertinib, has been available in the U.S. market for more than 5 years. It got an approval 5 years ago to be used in patients who have been diagnosed with EGFR positive metastatic lung cancer. The concept of EGFR positive is an important one because it goes back to the previous statement you made about having different types of lung cancer. And one way to identify the type of lung cancer you have is by doing a biomarker test. Mm-hmm. And by doing a biomarker test, it determines whether you have any oncogenic drivers or mutation that results in cancer. And EGFR is one of those oncogenic drivers. So if you are EGFR positive, you currently have osimertinib as a monotherapy for these patients based on an approval which we received from the FDA more than 5 years ago. The FLAURA2 trial is a trial where we are looking to add chemotherapy in combination with TAGRISSO. So FLAURA2, the trial design, as I said, was done in patients with metastatic non-small cell lung cancer, so stage 4, where their disease is, quite well progressed. And the difference with this study, which is actually a combination study of TAGRISSO versus a chemotherapy, is specifically it's eligible for all patients who have metastatic lung cancer. Chemotherapy is usually used in these patient groups who are probably a little bit sicker. So these are patients who could potentially have CNS metastases. So these are metastases within the brain, or potentially patients with rarer mutations like L858R. What the trial has shown is, regardless of whether you're different types of mutation, if you're EGFR positive non-small cell lung cancer, the combination of TAGRISSO plus chemo gives you an 8 months benefit over just using TAGRISSO as a monotherapy.
Now, when we're talking about chemotherapy, are there specific compounds within that chemotherapy in combination with TAGRISSO?
Yes, correct. Exactly. So chemotherapy is a hodgepodge of multiple things. So here what we have looked at is where they could have chemotherapy, which is either a carboplatin or a cisplatin-based regimen in addition to pemetrexed. So this is the combination regimen of one or the other, carbo or cisplatin with PEM as a maintenance along with TAGRISSO as a mono.
As far as safety and side effects data, were the side effects of this combination similar to chemotherapy alone, or were there any elevated side effects, or were some eliminated?
Yeah, so just to make sure, so the trial was chemotherapy in combination with TAGRISSO compared to TAGRISSO as a monotherapy. Mm-hmm. Being chemo used alone is no more the standard of care. The standard of care is already for EGFR patients TAGRISSO. So what we see from the safety data is that the safety data is quite comparable across the two arms. And so we believe that there is the events that we report in terms of safety or adverse events across the two arms seem comparable and also manageable.
Was there anything that was surprising to you as far as this trial was concerned?
Yeah, one of the things which actually took me by a surprise in a very positive way is the impact this has on CNS patients. So CNS patients, as I said earlier, patients who had brain mets, right? And these are usually classified as sicker patients and patients who need a more aggressive treatment. And what we saw from this data is the combination of chemo with TAGRISSO actually gives you more than 10 months of benefit in terms of PFS when compared to a monotherapy. So this was a very positive sign, especially for these sicker patient groups.
So what's next for TAGRISSO based on the data from this trial?
Yeah, so, we believe, right, TAGRISSO is really the backbone or the standard of care treatment for patients in the metastatic setting. And we recently also got an approval for using TAGRISSO in the earlier stage setting as well. So what is looking ahead, we are really excited about a data readout that's going to come in a year's time for using TAGRISSO in stage 3 patients, so stage 3 unresectable patients, and that's called the FLAURA trial. And we are excited to look at that. We're also very excited to look at NeoADORA, which is another trial which is using TAGRISSO in the neoadjuvant stage. So these are, patients prior to receiving any kind of surgery, TAGRISSO being used in that stage. And lastly, but not the least, we're also looking to explore, different types of combinations of TAGRISSO, which is a targeted treatment with other mechanisms of action like ADCs.
Is there anything that you'd like to add for our listeners, and then give us a website where we can learn more about AstraZeneca?
Yeah, of course, and I'm happy to share the website so you can share it with your listeners. The most important thing, if I can say, about lung cancer is about catching it early. And I often emphasize the importance of early screening in patients, especially those who have been prior smokers. The sooner you're able to diagnose lung cancer and catch it early, you have that much more chance of actually curing the disease. We have good treatments that are out there which will help patients to actually lead to cure. So my ask there is, let's identify the people who are susceptible for lung cancer and ensure that they are screened early so they are then given the right treatment at the right time.
And a website where we can learn more.
So the website that you could go to is AstraZenecaUS.com.
Arun, I appreciate you joining us here on Health Professional Radio, and I'm hoping that you'll return and give us some updates as trials continue.
No, I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Arun Krishna. Audio copies of this program are available at healthprofessionalradio.com.au, also at Anchor, Spotify, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Health Professional Radio.